this is Radhya Ramakrishna. So in today's video, I am back here with another brand new topic. We are going to discuss the Egyptian civilization. So in today's video, we have covered the Egyptian civilization, a little basis about its location and origins, the main features of the Egyptian civilization and the contributions it has to the modern world, and then we're going to move on finally to its decline. So first of all, let's get started. So the Egyptian civilization originated near the Nile Valley, along the banks of the Nile Valley in 3150 BCE. Herodotus, the ancient Greek historian, describes Egypt as the gift of Nile, which is absolutely true. The Nile River would flood its banks and deposit fertile black soil, and this fertile black soil was used in the result of this was used in agriculture, and it had a lot of water, and also the water was replenished by rains every year in the river, and this provided people with constant access to fresh water for drinking as well as irrigation. The Nile River rises in Central Africa, flows northward and drains into the Mediterranean Sea, and also this river was used for transport and navigation, and this helped people to communicate with the Mediterranean lands. This helped them to establish trade relations with them. And the water was also full of fish and papyrus, which provided food and helped in paper making respectively. And also the harvest was bountiful, supported by dense forests and cattle rearing. So, ancient Egypt is often understood as two distinct lands, that is Kemet, referring to the black fertile land on the banks of the river, and Deshet, that is referring to the red land, that is the desert on either side of Kemet. And the desert surrounding this region acted as natural barriers against outside infiltrations. This allowed the Egyptian society and culture to develop almost in isolation. Ancient Egypt can be divided into three phases, that is the Old Kingdom and the New Kingdom and the Middle Kingdom. The Old Kingdom originated in about 3000 BCE to 2200 BCE, the Middle Kingdom in about 2100 BCE to 1800 BCE, and the New Kingdom in about 1500 BCE to 1000 BCE. So, the settlements of ancient Egypt were divided into two parts, that is Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt. So, despite having much in common, these two lands were at war with each other. They had a lot of things in common, especially when it came to religion and culture. However, they were at war with each other, so let's just say they didn't get along as buddies together. However, King Narmer unified these two lands in 13,100 BCE. When he conquered Lower Egypt, he facilitated the emergence of a unified Egypt. And yeah, so the kings of Egypt were referred to as pharaohs, and the pharaonic rule, which began with King Narmer, ended with Cleopatra, who was the last pharaoh in 30 BCE. The pharaohs of Egypt were given the status of god on earth. These pharaohs were also considered chief priests of every temple, and they built up their own personal treasury by accepting gifts from all areas under their control. And the supreme positions of the pharaohs was reflected in the massive tombs in shape of pyramids that are built for them. The Egyptians believed in afterlife. They believed that if the pharaoh's body was preserved and mummified after death, the pharaoh would live forever. So they started this process called mummification. We'll come to that in a little bit. So these pyramids were built to protect the pharaoh's body and his belongings. So moving on, let's move on to the main features of the Mesopotamian civilization. In this, we are going to cover town planning, architecture, social structure, family life, occupation, and a lot of other things, trade and commerce, religion and culture. Moving on. First of all, starting with town planning. Not much is known about the town planning of the Egyptian civilization, because like some cities like Thebes and other cities, they grew naturally, while some other cities were planned. So yeah, the town planning of the Egyptian civilization depends on how approximate that particular structure is to the Nile Valley, to the Nile River, and the need to protect it from its flooding, because you don't want it to go down the very next day that you built it. So yeah, the main streets ran parallel with each other in the center of the town, and smaller streets intersected them at right angles. And many houses were built here. These houses were built with sun-dried bricks, and the houses had 2 to 3 rooms with a courtyard, also kitchen area. And royal buildings were fenced with high walls and moats for security reasons. Public buildings were also surrounded with high walls for also security reasons. Moving on, we've got architecture on our list. As I said before, architecture here, the Egyptians were very good at architecture, and their brilliance at architecture is reflected in the pyramids that they build and many other monumental structures that they build. These people build with sun-dried mud bricks and also stone, mainly limestone, sandstone and granite. The Egyptian civilization, well, Egypt is mainly known for its because it's home to one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, that is the pyramids of Giza. And these pyramids of Giza were built for a pharaoh named Khufu. This great pyramid of Giza was built for a pharaoh named Khufu. Moving on, another structure that shows Egyptian architecture and its finesse, Egyptian architecture's finesse, is the Sphinx. Is the Sphinx. This is a mythological creature that has a lion's body with a human head, with an Egyptian human head. So yeah. That is a mythological creature. So moving on, we've got social structure on our list as well. So the social structure in the Egyptian civilization is divided into 3 parts, that is the upper class and the low class and the middle class in between. So yeah, the upper class consisted of a royal family, government officials, priests, nobles, etc. And the middle class consisted of merchants, manufacturers, craftsmen, etc. Low class consisted of farmers, peasants, slaves, etc. So moving on, we're going to move on to family life right now. So the Egyptians greatly valued their family and family life, and a family in the Egyptian civilization would mainly consist of, obviously, a husband, a wife and children. And males were considered the head of the family, and they had to work to earn a living, and women took care of the house and the children. And boys were sent to school at the age of around 7, and boys were taught craft and trade with their fathers, while women were taught, girls were taught householdy work from their mothers. So yeah. Boys were sent to school at the age of 7, and education of girls was rare, obviously. So moving on, we've got occupation on our lists. So basically people have to work to earn a living. So yeah, the Egyptian civilization had many occupations such as agriculture, domestication of animals, and art and craft. But agriculture remained the core occupation. This is probably because agriculture is one of the main reasons of the rise of the Egyptian civilization, and also because of the fertile sand deposits every year, soil deposits every year, and because of the abundant water from the Nile River as they got replenished by rains every year, and also because of advanced irrigation techniques. The Egyptians were able to farm all year round. And yeah, the chief crops were wheat, millet, barley, melon, figs, corns, melons, figs, and they also grew flax, which was later converted into linen. And yeah, they also had animal husbandry as an occupation. So domestication of animals was sort of also main. However, agriculture was the core occupation. So the Egyptians domesticated many animals such as camels, not camels, they used that in transport. So moving on, they domesticated many animals such as donkeys, sheep, goats, many others, dogs as well, and they did all these for transport and agricultural purposes, because some of these animals helped them with agriculture, others helped them with transport. So yeah, they did this for transport and agricultural purposes. And Um, royal families also domesticated animals. They used to keep dogs, cats and monkeys as pets. Animals were also sometimes reared for food products such as eggs, milk and meat. Horses were also used to drive chariots in war. So moving on, we've got art and craft on our list as well. So when we come to art and craft, there are many kinds of craftsmen, like painters, sculptors, and many others. So there were many kinds like painters, sculptors, and many others who toiled to meet with the demand of the upper class families, and they basically sculpted pharaohs. These sculptures sculpted pharaohs using wood, stone, and also many other stuff. So yeah, moving on, we'll just move on to trade and commerce. So during the Pharaonic times, and trade and commerce was also done during the Pharaonic times. They used to trade goods with the Mediterranean lands. They used to trade goods with nearby countries and cities and towns as well. And they did this transportation process through the Nile River, and construction of bridges over the Nile River eased the process for transporting these goods to another place. And they used to use the barter system in trade, and they used to basically it's the exchange system. So yeah, they used to barter things like gold, linen, grains and many others in return for cedar wood, ivory, iron, copper, gold again, and many others. So yeah, moving on, religion and culture. Okay, so the Egyptians believed in many gods who were believed to control the forces of nature, and some of the gods that could be remembered are the sun god Ra, the creator god Amun, and the god of the dead, that is Osiris, yeah, and also they also have a god of mummification, that is Anubis. Pharaohs were also worshipped, and each god was assigned for a temple, and each temple had more than one deity. And the Egyptians also believed in a process, that is mummification. I said earlier that we'd come to that point, and we have. So mummification is basically a process that they used to preserve their dead. They believed in life after death, so they started this process called mummification. They preserved the dead bodies using natural oils and spices and wrapped in animal skins. So yeah, such dead bodies were known as mummies. So yeah, yeah. Remind me never to call my mother mummy again. I'd rather call her mom. So yeah, moving on. Let's move on to contributions the Egyptian civilization has to the modern world. So the Egyptian civilization contributes to the modern world in many ways, primarily in the fields of writing, science and astronomy, medicine, mathematics and paper as well. When it comes to inventions, paper as well. So coming to writing, the Egyptians invented their own form of writing called the hieroglyph, and this is also called the sacred writing because it was mainly written by priests. And the hieroglyph used pictographic representation of objects. Each picture denoted a letter of the alphabet, such as the lion denoted the letter L and palm denoted the letter B, yeah, so on. So the Egyptians also used cursive hieroglyphs which were mainly written by scribes, and their hieroglyphic form of writing was also carved or painted on stuck on stone surfaces of like in pyramids or tombs or temples, etc. So moving on. When it comes to science and astronomy, the Egyptians were probably one of the first to adopt a solar calendar. So yeah, in this, a year consisted of 360 days, and 360 days basically 12 months, and each month consisted of 30 days, and Each day consisted of 24 hours and each day consisted of 24 hours, and also they added 5 days at the end of every year to be used for celebrations. Wow, that must be massive, celebrating for 5 days. I have no idea how they got through with it. Anyways, moving on. We've got mathematics on our list as well. So when it comes to mathematics, the Egyptians had an advanced form of mathematics. They wrote these by interesting designs, or whatever you want to call them, because this was mainly derived from 10. The numbers 1, 10, 100, 1000, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million had a unique form of writing, while numbers 1 and 2 were depicted by simple strokes. And also the Egyptians, while they used to build pyramids, they used to do calculations of the area and volume of triangles, rectangles, circles, hemispheres, all very accurately, so that they could get the proper structure of the pyramids, and basically it gets easier if there's more accuracy. So moving on, we've also got medicine on our list. So the Egyptians were profound in medical science, because the mummies that they prepared like thousands of years ago are still well preserved. So yeah, round of applause for them. Moving on, they knew about many different kinds of diseases and their cures as well. So yeah, hands off to them. Priests were also considered doctors. They used to cure diseases through using magic spells, in their opinion, and also natural ingredients and medicines to cure illnesses. And the chief priest in charge had a high knowledge of medicine and human anatomy. They had high intelligence of human anatomy and medicine. So moving on, we've got paper on our list. So when we talk about inventions, they definitely invented paper. They used paper. They made paper and ink from papyrus. That is a river plant that grew in their area, in the Nile River. So yeah, they had a lot of access to this. So they processed these papyrus plants and pasted them together to form a large and flat surface, and ink was also prepared using the juice of plants. So yeah, these are mainly the reasons how the Egyptian civilization contributes to the modern world. Moving on, let's learn how this great civilization came to decline. Well, first of all, the glory of the Egyptian civilization came to decline by around 1100 BCE. 1100 BCE. So yeah, came to an end around 1100 BCE. This is mainly because they faced repeated invasions by Babylonians, Assyrians and Persians, and the army was not equipped enough to deal with all this. So the Egyptian civilization started coming to an end, and King Alexander the Great conquered Egypt. He was the king of Macedon. He conquered Egypt, and one of the people of Alexander declared himself the king of Egypt, and then eventually it became a Roman province after the Ptolemy dynasty, which ruled over for 300 years in Egypt, which lived on for 300 years in Egypt. Egypt eventually became a Roman province. So yeah, the Egyptian civilization came to an end this way. So yeah, that's probably it. So yeah, I guess that's it for today. Until next time, I'm Aradhya. I'll see you all in the next video. Stay tuned for more videos by subscribing my channel. Okay, this is really annoying. I'll just do the annoying YouTuber thing and ask you all to like, share and subscribe. Moving on. See you all next time. Bye bye.